Listening to Clearview Today with Dr. Shah, the daily show that engages mind and heart for the gospel of Jesus Christ. I'm Ryan Hill.
I'm John Galantis.
You can find us online at clearviewtodayshow.com, or if you have any questions for Dr. Shah or suggestions for new topics, send us a text at 252-582-5028, or you can email us at contact@clearviewtodayshow.com.
That's right, and you can help us keep the conversation moving forward by supporting the show. You can share it online with your friends and your family. Leave us a good 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify, anywhere you get your podcasting content from. Absolutely nothing less than 5 stars. We're going to leave a link right there in the description so you can do just that.
That's nice.
That's
nice.
It's
very
very
considerate
nice to me. It's very demure.
Very thoughtful. Very mindful.
Very mindful. What
Very
is that, by the
cutesy.
way? You've been saying that for like
Very
the better part
cutesy,
of 2 weeks.
Very mindful.
I Googled
Very
very
demure.
demure, and I saw like a bunch of TikTok people claiming that they started it. What is it?
It's a TikTok trend.
Very demure.
Yeah.
Very mindful.
It's see how I sit here and lead this radio show. I don't do too much like these other radio show hosts. Very cutesy. Very mindful. Very demure.
I'm about to do too much.
Here comes
Oh, yeah!
Gosh.
$1 Million Monday!
Rest in peace, headphone users.
Hey! Yeah, they've asked me over there at the Truth Network. They've actually
Please
asked
stop
me
yelling into the
to
microphone.
stop yelling into the microphone. $1 million, Ryan, but
Yeah.
every single time you text your wife, and for all you ladies out there, for if you text your husband, $1 million, but
Yeah.
every single time you text your spouse,
Yeah.
it gets copied and pasted and goes to a random person in your contacts.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I don't like that.
So Elizabeth will get, hey, what's for dinner tonight? But also so will like your college roommate.
Sure.
Elizabeth will get, hey, where's the hemorrhoid cream? But your dad might get it too. It just goes to a random
Yikes.
person in your contacts.
If I call her, what happens?
If you call her, it's all good.
Oh, so the
It's
call
just-
doesn't get like routed like three-way call. They're just looped into the
I tell
phone
you what,
conversation.
I'll give you another $500,000 for that. Yeah. So 1.5, but the call gets routed too. Any call with her turns into a three-way call. But or if you just want the regular million, it's just for a text message. Like think about
yeah, you know what? I'll take the 1.5.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Yeah, and
Yep.
you'll just be super careful on the phone.
Yep. I'll take it.
Like this is a Christian radio show, so we're not going the obvious route that you guys would think of. But I mean, think about all the other embarrassing stuff that you text your wife. Like, oh my
yeah,
goodness.
100%. Like we'll be like talking about people, we'll be spilling tea.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But my stomach was so tore up after I just ate whatever. Like your third grade teacher will be like, who? Like if you happen to have her in your contacts
don't
for some
have her
reason,
in my contacts.
or whoever. Like it's like
Actually,
someone
you
in the
know what?
church.
I do have my third grade teacher in
No
my
way.
contacts because it's my mom.
No, it's your mom.
I was homeschooled in third grade, so it turns out my third grade teacher is in my contacts.
Fair enough.
I would take that.
I
Yeah.
think I would also take it. You just got to be careful because you don't know who it's going to.
Right.
So let me. I'm gonna play Russian roulette with my contacts right now. Let's see. Give me a name. Or I'm sorry. Give me a letter of the alphabet.
L.
All right, L. It would go to Leo Green, my bass player.
Which would probably be fine.
Would be fine. Yeah, the bass
would
player
probably
here
be
on there.
fine.
But it could also go to I don't know. I don't have a whole lot of else. I guess I just got Leo Green. I got some other people, but most of these people, I don't even remember who these people are. You ever look at your contacts and you're like,
Often.
Who
yes.
is
I'm like,
this person?
I don't even remember. Like I'll look at the notes of how I know that person. I'm like, I don't remember this
I
at
don't know
all.
who this is.
Yeah.
I would also take the money.
Yeah.
I would also take the money. $1
It
million.
would be dicey. I mean, you'd have to like really pay attention to what you're texting, but I would take it.
Yeah,
And saying on the
So
phone.
you would take the $1.5 million?
Yeah, I would take
like
it.
Phone calls get.
I would take it.
They're
I
in
think
it.
what I would do is I would be like, remind me, I have to tell you something later. And then when I see her in person, I'll be like, guess what?
But then you also have that person because they just get the text, so they don't just ignore it. Like your college roommate would text back like, "What do you need to tell me later?"
I'm sorry, that was meant for somebody else.
But that's every text to your wife, though. You every text to your wife now turns into 2 texts.
yeah, I think I would just like stop texting her.
Yeah, hopefully they would just block you. Like if they.
I
keep
would
getting-
hope so. Like,
if
what is
you,
this?
Yeah, like if people, but it's always a random person though.
Yeah.
So I don't know that they would.
I don't know.
I would take it.
I wonder if Dr. Shah has like, I think 5 times as many contacts in his phone as I do.
Yeah, that's true. And I think he texts his wife a lot.
Yeah.
That would be rough.
Yeah.
But I think he would still do it.
Maybe.
Let's see.
Write in and let us know if you take that deal. 252-582-5028. Or you can visit us online at clearviewtodayshow.com. We'll be back after this.
Hey, what's going on, listeners? My name is John.
And I'm Ellie.
And we just want to take a second and let you know about Dr. Shah's new book on the market right now called Can We Recover the Original Text of the New Testament? Boy, that is a long title.
True, but it's a very simple message. The original text of the New Testament is not only attainable, but there are lots of different ways that scholars go about discovering it.
There's a lot of people out there saying that the original text is lost forever, or that it's hopeless to actually try to find it, or that there's many texts of the New Testament. But alongside Dr. David Allen Black, Dr. Shah has actually compiled papers from some of the world's leading experts in textual criticism, including one written by himself on various methodologies for extracting the original text. And listen, if you're interested in textual criticism, this book is a great introduction to the field.
You can pick up your copy on Amazon, or you can buy it from our church website. That's clearviewbc.org. We're going to leave a link in the description box so you can get your copy today.
Love that. Ellie, let's hop back in.
Let's do it.
You're listening to Clearview Today with Dr. Abadan Shah, the daily show that engages mind and heart for the gospel of Jesus Christ. I'm Ryan Hill.
I'm John Galantis.
You can find us online at clearviewtodayshow.com, or if you have any questions for Dr. Shah or suggestions for new topics, send us a text to 252-582-5028, or you can email us at contact@clearviewtodayshow.com.
That's right, and you can help us keep the conversation moving forward by supporting the show. You can share it online with your friends and your family. Go ahead and leave us a good 5-star review on any of your podcasting platforms, Spotify, iTunes, anything that will help us keep the conversation moving forward for the gospel of Jesus Christ. We're here with our host, Dr. Abadan Shah, who's a PhD in New Testament textual criticism. Dr. Shah, we're responding to the school shooting that happened just last Wednesday in Winder, Georgia, in Apalachee High School. 4 people were killed, 2 of them students, 2 of them teachers, and at least 9 others were wounded. And it seems that this is becoming increasingly frequent in our country, and yet it seems like the conversation always moves to a place that's unhelpful.
Right, which is gun control.
Gun control.
Yeah.
It always moves there.
Yeah. Winder, Georgia was not very far from where when I went to college in Toccoa, Georgia, which is northeast Georgia mountains. And Winder is to the northeast of Atlanta and kind of towards Athens, Georgia, University of Georgia, south of Gainesville, I guess in a way, if you look at the map. So it's kind of sad to think about because this is things have changed there now, but at one time kind of a rural community, outskirts of Atlanta, not much going on. And then to see this and hear this was very sad for me to hear about.
Well, it hits close to home. It's somewhere where you spent a lot of your young adult life, and some of your adult life too. You guys were married in Georgia, right? Around that area?
We were married in Georgia, and actually in Toccoa. But Nicole's dad pastored outside of Toccoa, and so Winder would be maybe 45 minutes to an hour. Where I was
not
at.
Very far at all.
Yeah. And I didn't often go to Winder. I went to Gwinnett, which is to the north of Atlanta, coming down I-85 past Gainesville into Atlanta. Winder would be like coming down I-85 Gainesville and go straight down instead of go down west. You just go southwest instead of going southwest. You go straight down.
Right.
So it kind of feels like it just happened in an area where I grew up, kind of thing.
Yeah, I can imagine so.
It's heartbreaking to hear, these news stories, especially with the suspect. He's 14.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just like, I think about 14-year-olds. I work with 14-year-olds.
Yeah.
And just to think about, that this is the trajectory that your life has taken. This is the choices that you've made. It's, on one hand, it's despicable and it's heinous and it's evil, but on the other hand, this is a child who made this decision. It's just heartbreaking.
And his whole life now is negatively impacted by this.
Oh, yeah.
There's no getting out of this. Of course, we know the grace of God and the forgiveness of God, and God can use this for something good in his life and through him. But what you sow is what you reap.
That's right.
And this harvest is going to come and keep coming.
That's right.
It's very tragic.
You're listening to this right now on September the 9th. We're recording this on the 6th, so it only just happened 2 days ago. So by the time you listen to this, more information may be available than what we're able to give you right now. But a lot has happened. He's been charged with 4 felony counts of murder. His father is being charged with him. I believe his name, Colt Gray, he used a semi-automatic assault-style rifle to kill 2 fellow students and 2 teachers on Wednesday, only 2 days ago from the time we're recording this. So again, a lot of these things that are coming in, they're not changing and shifting, but it's coming in piecemeal. So again, by the time you listen to this, there may be more revealed that we won't cover in this show. But I think what you said kind of hits home. At 14 years old, your life has barely begun.
What would possess you to even consider doing something like this?
Right.
The fact that you go to school to learn, to study, to have a good time, to be with friends, to play sports, whatever. But to go in there with a deadly weapon to kill, something seriously went wrong in this young man's life.
That's true.
It shows us the impact of the environment that people grow up in.
Yeah.
I mean, his decisions are his own, but it shows the impact of parents or even a support system. We talk about the church being a support system. It shows the importance of those godly adults coming alongside a young person, especially through the teenage years, and helping guide them, because the teenage brain is. It really is sort of a perfect storm.
Oh yeah.
You got adult-sized emotions with child-sized reasoning.
Right.
And it's very difficult for them to parse and process things that are happening to them. So you need that adult presence to help guide during the teenage years. And if you don't have that, or teens are guided wrongly, I mean, we see the result.
And I think one of the things that you've always hit on, both in this show and from the pulpit, Dr. Shah, is the need for godly fathers. The role, and I think we're seeing this played out right in front of us now. What happens when the father is not a good influence? Now this is an extreme case, and we know that not all instances of poor fatherhood or poor parenting end up like this one will. At the same time, it does demonstrate a very real need that or a very real truth that fathers are desperately needed. Godly fathers are desperately needed in a child's life.
And we don't even know for sure if this is a father-related issue, at least right now. And again, thank you for clarifying. This has only been 2 days for us.
Right.
But by the time this show airs, it'll be an entire week. So maybe more has come out about this dad and what he's done. But at least for now, he's been charged. And I'm sure for some valid reasons or some credible reasons. But still, this young man made a decision. Is his family really involved? And we can say yes. Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe not.
We don't know that
don't know.
yet. We're saying that this family messed up, but are we sure that this family messed up, or does this young man went on the wrong road?
Right. Yeah. It's too early to say.
Yeah.
But we know, that this is just one of many, and it's kind of a sad truth that this is becoming more and more common. But the way that we have to deal with this, along with the world that we're living in, is changing. I think we're going to talk about that later this week. This moral decline. In fact, we actually have already recorded those episodes. This kind of just happened, so this has taken the place of a regularly scheduled episode. But all that to say, we are seeing this moral decline across our nation.
Yeah.
And I feel like, and Dr. Shah, maybe you can speak to this too, we're blaming the wrong things and prescribing the wrong solutions, when at the heart of it, this is a moral issue.
This is a problem of the heart.
Yeah.
The further we get away from our Judeo-Christian foundation, the further we get away from our biblical values, and yes, biblical values, not just generic moral values that somehow are the common denominators of all religion. No, I don't buy into that junk. These are biblical values.
Right.
Okay? Further we get away from that Christian culture, forget about being conservative. Forget about being, I am just an old timer, or I'm just, just a traditionalist. I don't care about that. I think that holds zero water for me. I want to hear how much does the Bible impact your thinking and your worldview?
Yeah.
You may be old-fashioned, but more than half the world is old-fashioned. Does that make them right? Come to India. We'll show you what old-fashioned is. It goes back thousands of years. Does that make it right? So being conservative and being old-fashioned is not the answer.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
The answer comes from the truth of the Word of God, the Bible, the Old and New Testament.
Yeah.
And those words of God were the foundation on which this nation was built.
Yeah.
Does that mean every person who was in the founding of our nation was born again, solid, evangelical Christian? No, we know that. But we do know that they were operating from that worldview.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody in those days was just committed Christian, but they were operating from that worldview.
Right.
That's
Right.
a big difference.
Yeah, because that worldview sort of permeates everything that you do. You know, the way that you see the world with or without God is going to. And what let me rephrase. What I mean is whether you see the world through the lens of God created this, God is our King, God is our Father, or you don't. That's a huge difference.
Yes.
It's not just a matter of personal belief. It sort of determines everything that you do and think as a
right.
person.
I mean, what's happening in Europe, okay? This started out with a biblical foundation. I mean, that was the turning point in Western culture. I mean, the history of the Western culture, and I'm talking about European culture, goes back thousands of years.
Right.
And they knew the truth, and yet they wandered away from the truth. It's Christianity that I believe brought them back on that path of truth. Not before a lot of dark ages had passed. And I'm not even talking about medieval times. I'm talking about prior to the medieval times. I'm talking about while the Greek and the Romans were flourishing, those were the dark regions or dark areas in Western history. Prior to that, they had some kind of an understanding that there is truth and there is salvation and there is that one person who's going to come and give his life. They had that. But then went into exactly Romans 1, departed away from God. And then with the coming of Christianity, it was like a coming back. And by the 2nd century, Christianity was already coming into places like England, even though it was Anglo-Saxon at the time, coming into England and parts of Europe. And it's like they came back to the truth.
Yeah.
And with that truth came life and science and all the rest followed maybe 1,000 years later, but it followed. In a sense, the East lost it and the West found it. East had it the whole time and they lost it, but the West now had it.
Right.
And look where God has brought the Western culture. But we're walking away from those foundations.
Yeah.
And in a sense, we're going back to the dark ages.
Well, I like the way that you framed it because it wasn't that it was love and compassion, it was truth. It was truth.
Yeah.
And I truly feel, and I know all of us around this table agree that that's what's missing in our society right now. We're advocating for a return to Christian values, not as a means of fostering more compassion and more morality, but as a means of fostering truth in our society. Because when I know the truth, all of us, we're reasonably well educated guys. We know it's not a good idea, both legally, morally, and spiritually, to go and shoot up a school. So we're not going to. But there are people who are so spiritually blind and so spiritually lost and dark because there's no Christian values, because there's no, like you said, godly father in the home, that, hey, things like this, I feel like are, I hate to say it, and maybe I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like they're almost inevitable.
Well, I'm not even saying yet much about the godly father in the home thing.
Okay.
I don't know this young man's situation. I don't know. I think his name is Colin Gray. The father's name is Colin.
Colin is the father, yes.
Father, and
Colt
the son is Colt's son. I don't even know if much about this family. Maybe they are a dysfunctional family. Maybe they're not. I don't know. What I am saying is more than just a family has broken down. Okay, yes, that's true. I'm going even further, deeper, which is we are losing our grip on the foundation of the American culture, which is biblical. Out of that culture comes a value that all human beings are made in the image of God and are worthy of my respect. I may not like them. I may not get along with them. I may dislike certain things about them, but they're made in the image of God. They're not believers. They're not necessarily going to heaven because they're born in the image of God. They're just born in the image of God. Means they're valuable. And because they're valuable, made in the image of God, I cannot just go out there and kill them.
Right.
Family or no family, that is part of our what we derive from being in a Judeo-Christian culture. When that Judeo-Christian culture, that foundation is weakened, of course, the next to follow is the family. Because family is the incubator where the young are raised. So the family begins to break down, which I've already said before, one of the biggest drawbacks between the West and the East is that the East still has the family. Doesn't mean that they're all happy, loving. Yeah, that's not always the case.
Yeah.
But at least they're a family. The West, that's one of the biggest strikes against the West, is that our family has broken down. So yes, that's also there. But I don't want to say that that's the only reason why this young man did what he did.
Right.
Because I think then I'm saying something that the family would save us. No, not necessarily.
True.
Yeah.
True.
I feel like conversations like this, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, but they always turn toward gun control. Like let's get rid of all the guns, let's eliminate all the guns, just take them away from everybody, and we'll solve this problem.
I think that's one of the more disgusting parts of when things like this happen. You always know that there's someone ready to jump on that argument to take advantage of a situation like this.
Should private citizens own guns?
Right.
That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, but it turns into this whole sympathy thing where it's like I have sympathy for the victim, I have sympathy for their families, when really I'm trying to lobby to get this thing that I support, that I want to take away control of all the people who live in this country. So I'm going to use this because this is very convenient for my argument right now. And how can you argue against it? There's a bunch of people who've lost their lives. So you're going to argue against me for that at a time like this?
Right.
And it seems like this is the formula for how things go nowadays.
So we have to examine this question on three different levels. First is the constitutional level. Second is the historic level. And the third is the biblical level. Constitutionally, the debate centers on the Second Amendment. That's what we're talking about here. And according to the Second Amendment, it says this: a well-regulated militia. I think we've covered this before in our show.
We have.
But I think we need to hear that again.
Yeah, I think so
A
too.
well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
So not only is it a good idea, it's necessary. It is necessary to have a well-secured state.
Right. So the question comes down to whether this amendment protects individual rights to own guns, or if it pertains solely to those who are in the armed services or in the law enforcement. I mean, that's the question.
Right.
Was the Second Amendment for me to have personal weapons, or was it only for those in uniform?
Yeah. I mean, I guess at the time, I don't know. I guess I don't know what a well-regulated militia meant to them at that time, because at the time it was citizens. It was citizens making up that militia.
So in 2008, the Supreme Court case called District of Columbia versus Heller, the court upheld that the right to possess a firearm is unconnected with service with a militia. Okay, so this is in 2008. The court upheld that the right to possess a firearm is unconnected with service with a militia.
Meaning you don't have to be in law enforcement.
No.
You do not have to be in the military to own a
possess
firearm.
a personal firearm.
The word militia was defined to include all males physically capable of acting in concert for the common defense.
Okay. So not those who are necessarily enlisted or in some form of public
deputized
service.
or
This is like, hey,
Like enrolled. Yeah.
If it comes down to it and you need to step up and protect, you need to make sure that you're able to do
If you're able to, you are allowed to.
And U.S. Justice Antonin Scalia further opined that self-defense was the central component of the right itself.
I mean,
No, that's
makes
pretty clear.
sense, yeah.
So if you just go by, we're not the militia anymore, then of course we're going to go down the direction of, then we don't need the guns anymore. But this is why we have experts who interpret this and help us understand this in the context and in today's application. And self-defense was the central component of the right. So it was not just about the militia, it was about self-defense.
Right.
Here comes the British, well-trained army. We don't stand a chance unless we have something that can equalize the chances, the odds.
Well, nothing will equalize it like a gun, like a firearm. They are the great equalizer.
So the bottom line is this: the founding fathers made sure that the people of America would have the right to defend themselves. Hence, the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you find that when people make this argument, it's because they're either afraid of owning guns, have no knowledge of what owning a gun is like, or they just genuinely don't want you to have them? Because I think it's very surfacey to say, well, I don't want Americans to have guns so that this won't happen. But it will happen.
Yeah.
It will happen whether or not guns are allowed.
Well, bottom line is, when you try to take up guns, the good guys will always give up their guns.
Right.
The bad guys never do.
Right.
Because it just seems odd to me, and maybe there's some argument of it that I'm missing. Maybe there's some magic golden puzzle piece that makes all of it make sense, and I'm just missing it. But it's like the goal is it has to be illegal to own guns. It's like the kid's 14. It was illegal for him to own a gun. That's already done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know what I don't know what the rest of us are.
Also,
are to
if
do.
a person is intent to if they're setting out to do an illegal thing, such as take another person's life, like commit murder, if they're going to commit that illegal act, the chances of them committing a lesser illegal act to get a gun, I mean, come on. Of course they're going to.
I mean, look, there's tons of unregistered illegal immigrants in the country who own guns, and that's illegal. Now, if they shoot someone, we can't say, see, this is why guns have to be illegal. It was already illegal for him to own it.
Right.
It didn't stop him. Not at one point did he say, man, I really want to hurt someone with this gun, but I can't because it's against the law.
If laws stopped criminals, there wouldn't be any criminals.
Right,
Yep.
exactly.
Exactly. Well, not just constitutionally, but also historically, the guns have been integral to the American way of life. So in the early days of our nation, individuals and families who went out to the frontiers to start a new life, they needed protection against outlaws, hostile tribes, and even wildlife. And guns were just like we mentioned a few moments ago, they were the great equalizers. Not only do they equalize the strength, but also the distance. So if you're coming at me, I can meet you more than halfway by firing a gun.
Right.
Stop you where you are. Or if you are a big person, you can pummel me in the ground by using this gun. I am now a big person who can fight back.
Right.
So they are the great equalizers. So historically, in this big land, when I say great, I'm not just talking about great as in the greatness of America. I'm talking about the vastness.
Right.
Guns were a must.
Yeah.
There's something that I'd like you to kind of talk about, because you do have that unique perspective where you are from the East and you've seen things like this happen. A lot of times what people will say in events like this is, right, we're talking about handguns here, but this kid, and I think in this case, Colt Gray did use an assault rifle. He used a gun that was either, it was similar to an AR-15. And so they'll say, but why do you as a private citizen need an assault rifle? And when you bring up, well, the founding fathers did put that in there so that you could protect yourself and, uprise against the government should it become tyrannical. People will say, really? You really think that's going to happen? But coming from the East, you've seen governments go corrupt. You've seen governments become tyrannical and start really genuinely oppressing the people of its state.
Yeah, constantly. Constantly. I mean, so my mom's family came from the state called Uttar Pradesh. Uttar means north, Pradesh is state. So it's the name of a state. It's to the north of India, and the people from there are known to be quite fiery. I mean, they'll fight back.
Right.
And this state was known for big landowners, oppressing the poor people, and just making their life a living hell for generations. Not just like once or twice a year, but for generations. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
For hundreds of years, your family is in this servitude to these landed gentry, and you have no way of getting out.
Yeah,
How many
there's
years? 700 years.
Wow.
Can you imagine that? 700 years.
Yeah, you know, that's just what your life is.
Your life is because your great grandfather took out a loan to plow the field in the 1600s, and you're still paying for it.
Wow.
That's about right.
So about that time, there were a lot of dacoits that rose up in the state. And I remember my mom and grandma, they were afraid to go to visit family because we had to go in the daytime by train and get out. The train needs to land needs to get to the station by no later than 4 o'clock in the evening so they can pick us up. We can go to the house by 6 o'clock so we can be in the house. This was a big deal because dacoits are out. Now you're wondering who's a dacoit. I mean, they were like outlaws.
Wow.
With guns and gun belt and everything. I mean, like just like you see today in like the cowboy films of the 1800s. That's what they were doing in the 60s and 70s.
Wow.
And I remember
incredible.
The train arriving at one of these stations and seeing out on the train platform people standing there with big shotguns. And I'm like, oh my goodness, where are we? As a little
happening?
boy. And my mom's like, you okay? You're okay.
You're good.
Uncle's here to pick us up, and we're going to be going to their home. You'll be fine. But you see everybody standing with big guns and bullets, like this whole, strap across their chest. I'm like, this is
Like real outlaws for real.
These
These are the real deal.
But this is how they fought back against the oppression. They fought back against some of the things. So, yeah, maybe we can say, oh, this will never happen in America. But what if?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. David just sent me this. I can tell you who that is, the young lady in the
You
middle.
want to throw it up on the TV?
Yeah, you can throw it up there. I can talk about that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there is a picture. Yeah. So that lady, you see her right in the middle.
With the hat.
Yeah.
It's not a hat. It's just like she's
like a shawl
wrapped
or something.
shawl, something around her head because
Okay.
it's a cold. Her name is Fulan Devi,
Okay.
and she was the famous dacoit from that part of the country. The families of Thakurs, unfortunately, some of our family came from the Thakurs.
Really?
They killed her family.
Wow.
And I mean, like lined them up and pow, pow, pow.
So is this like a feud like Hatfield and McCoy style, or is this government versus the people?
This is landed gentry against the poor peasants.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so these people rose up to fight against that oppression.
Wow.
They rose up to fight against the oppression.
Wow.
Because if they hadn't done that, this is what they were doing, raping and killing people.
Wow.
So they used those guns to fight against. And okay, so the police captured them. Okay, so these are all dacoits. The ones on the ground right there, the guy standing next to her. Now, the rest of them over there are police, are military actually, who caught her. In fact, they didn't catch her. She surrendered. She said, I'm coming in. I'm surrendering.
Wow.
And she surrendered. And she went on to become a politician.
Really?
Yeah, she went on to become a politician. She fought for her people. And in the end, I think somebody killed her.
Wow.
Like a revenge killing.
Right.
They took her out. But anyways, the whole point is this. Yeah, I've lived in that part of the world where if there were no guns,
Right.
I mean, it's not like 50, 60 years, hundreds of years.
Right. Yeah. It's weird to think, and it's very, I think, disingenuous to claim that tyranny is not an option in the United States, and the United States government will never become tyrannical. I'll never have to deal with this because we in the West are so enlightened, we're above such things.
Well, have you not seen the past few years where oppression has come?
Right. Well, so that's also what they'll say. Those same people who say that will also say there's a lot of oppression coming from the right, but maybe that's not a discussion for today's episode.
Right.
Because we'll be here all day if we start poking holes in their logic.
The whole point of this, to say that guns are bad, that's hasty. Okay. Yes, of course. This young man, made a very wrong decision. We also talked about how the American worldview has shifted away from a biblical-centered understanding of life and justice and righteousness and all that. So that's also part of that. Maybe his family is also responsible for this. But to immediately run after gun control is not only going against our founding fathers' understanding, but also historically how these have been integral to our ability to maintain our freedom.
Right.
And also for those of you who say, oh, well, Jesus said somebody slaps you on one cheek, turn the other and all that stuff. Yeah, of course. We are against vengeance, but not self-defense.
That's right.
Okay? Bible still talks about in the very previous verse, Matthew 5:38, I think, you have heard that it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. So Jesus did not say no for that.
Right.
Self-defense is important. Defending the innocent or the weak or the helpless is important.
100%.
That's right. It's so good. And it's so important for us to talk about things like that, especially, like you said, people will sometimes capitalize on things like this to try to push their own agenda, but it's important for us to have a measured view and talk about the real issues
That's right.
behind what's going on.
That's right.
If you guys enjoyed today's episode, write in and let us know, 252-582-5028, or you can visit us online at clearviewtodayshow.com. Don't forget you can partner with us financially on that same website. Every gift that you give goes not only to building up this radio show, but countless other ministries for the sake of the gospel. Lots of great content coming your way the rest of this week. Make sure you guys tune in. We love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow on Clearview Today.